Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Bells Must Ring podcast. I am your host, Andrew Rice, here with my usual co-host, Arnav Sarkar. Basketball season is coming up, and we are almost underway, almost towards both the tip-off for men's and women's basketball. So we figured that it was about high time, we start getting into basketball a little bit, start giving a little bit of a season preview, roster breakdown, player breakdown, and what we expect from the teams this season. Um, I will be handling most of the men's basketball content for our site. Arnav will be handling most of the women's basketball. To be honest, I think his expectations are a little bit higher than mine. So, going to be interesting to see how both the seasons play out for both teams. Um, as obviously we haven't seen them play yet, most of the starting lineups are still unknown. But especially for men's basketball, we're just going to get right into some of the key transfers, upcoming freshmen, contributing returners, and the people that we're personally most excited for. Um, from the key transfers, and I lumped like the European talents that are technically not transfers, but they have a higher level of playing experience. I lumped them all into one. Um, Dennis Battleau, Harun Zerno, uh, Byfall, and Darren Buchanan are personally the ones that I'm most excited for. Battleau played in Italy's top professional league for Aquila Trento. I hope I'm saying that right. Harun Zerno was a star in the Bosnian league for KK Slavia. He has proven to be a very solid 3-point threat. He's probably going to be a lot of our perimeter offense. Darren Buchanan, Byfall, he was a bench warmer at two previous schools. However, he seems to be a little bit better of a big talent than we currently have on the roster, and we desperately need some big talent. So people have Agbole starting over him. Personally, with Agbole's previous
I was like,
performances,
oh boy. Huh?
I just don't see it
Yeah,
happening.
no. You can't have that.
Yeah. Um,
I was
but
like,
Darren Buchanan's a little bit of an interesting story. He seemed to have a very good starting season at George Washington, played as a freshman, but after injury, he wasn't able to. After an injury to him his sophomore year, he wasn't really able to get back to his starting mojo, and eventually ended up losing the starting job. So, not something that inspires confidence in my mind to a team that I believe was only in the college basketball crown. I'm gonna have to look that up actually. Yeah, I believe that they were like yeah, okay. So they were a fringe college basketball crown team. Not a very inspiring sight to see he lost his starting job there, but I hope it's only due to injury and he's able to take the next step when he comes back to Rutgers, perform like he did his first year. And then there's Tariq Francis, who came over from NJIT, averaged a lot of points for them, but it's going to be a very steep step up in competition. So it's going to be interesting to see how he pans out. But I guess the kind of poster child for this year is going to be the upcoming freshman. Obviously, not as exciting as the two we had last year, but we still have some great freshmen coming up the pipeline. In four-star guard Lionel Mark, who is possibly going to, at least in my opinion, is going to be the backup point guard. Um, Four-star guard Dorian Jones, four-star forward Chris Nori, and Nuwui. I say that 10 times fast. Nuwuli. Um, and then three-star guard Caden Powers. It seems like this team, while I don't think that many of the freshmen are going to be in the starting lineup, it appears that they're going to be constantly, rotating in and out. They're going to have heavy contributions. I'm also kind of glad that it seems that this team won't be so freshman heavy, so we can avoid those freshman mistakes. but we'll have to see how everything pans out with the current starters and if they end up losing their spots. But going right into the contributing returners, we have guard JaMychal Davis, forward Bryce Dortch, forward Dylan Grant, and center Emmanuel Agbole. Not the returning production that really screams success, I'll be honest with you. I think that JaMychal Davis is probably going to be the starting point guard because he has been there the longest. He has the most experience. He is a guard. If anybody's going to run Pikel's offense, he's probably going to want the guy who's been waiting in the wings for it for a while, if I had to pick. But yeah, not a roster that screams talent across the board, but they do have some playmakers. Like I said, they have a very experienced point guard. They have Zerno who can hit from beyond the floor. They finally have a big who's not Agbole. They've, with all the upcoming four-star talents, one of them should prove to, or at least a couple of them should prove to give significant minutes, coming up the roster there. And then, Battleau, Zerno, Buchanan, they've all shown stuff that proves that they can compete at this level. Mm-hmm. Zerno was a highly sought after prospect. Battleau was in a very competitive Italian league. Buchanan did show a lot of skill before his injury. It's not like this roster is completely devoid of talent, but it's going to take a lot of old school pickleball for this team to get back to what it was. And that's what it seems to be. This is a very defensive minded, tall team. Like I said, we're going to be getting back to that pickleball of in your face defense and not letting you get a single open look.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you about all those things that you said. Yeah, I think the transfers to look out for are definitely like the guys, the European guys. Even though they're not really transfers, they still have all their years of eligibility intact because they play professionally overseas. You bet Dennis Battleau, hearing a lot of great things about him. He playing Italy's top professional league. I saw he was doing really good in practice as a shooter. Same thing with Harun Zerno, who's known as the top shooter. I think he was shooting like 44% for KK Slavija over in the Bosnian league. So I mean that's just like
really Slavia.
Slavia. Yeah, that makes more sense. So I mean, last year again another player that didn't really pan out too well for us in the portal, and a lot of them didn't. But PJ Hayes never really became that threat from outside the arc that Rutgers fans were hoping for. This year you get a guy like Zerno, proven knockdown shooter. I believe he's also a bigger guard, like 6'4" or even taller. So I mean that also helps as well. And then Darren Buchanan, he's also quite like he's 6'7". Yeah, I remember because I remember reading that Zerno was a bit taller for a guard, so he has some size. Buchanan as well. He's more of like a two-way scorer, more of a rim threat. He played it well, yeah, like you said, in his first season at George Washington University, and then he lost his starting spot after he got injured. But definitely two-way scorer, interior threat. Good defensive player too. He's also a bigger guard at 6'7", so I guess to use the phrase a couple times, but I mean a lot of size there on that end for the guards, the shooting guards at least, and even the point guards too. I believe Lino Mark is like 6'3". There's pretty good size over there because I know Tariq Francis is very, very short on the shorter side. I think he's only like 6 foot or so, but he was a high level or high volume scorer over at NJIT. He could shoot the three. He's 6'1". He averaged quite a bit of points over there. He averaged almost 20 points a game in for NJIT. He basically got the scoring title, and he shot about 37% from the field, 32% from three, 84% from the free throw. So he's definitely more like that, key scorer on this team. Is he going to be on one of the key scorers? Not exactly sure just yet, but he could definitely contribute if he gets brought in off the bench. He also led the Highlanders with 3.6 assists per game, so that's another player that I definitely watch out for, a true bucket getter, and point guard at the same time. So, and then the freshman too. I mean, like, high star recruits, Kane Powers, guard out of Washington, the State, 3-star, 4-star forward Chris Newilly. He's supposed to be pretty good. Dorian Jones was very late get. I think he was supposed to go to Ohio State, and he ended up flipping his commitment very late in the cycle. That's very exciting news. And then Lino Mark, heard really great stuff about him. Another 4-star.
Yeah, he's been one that's been talked about for a while here. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the returners too. I mean, like, the guys who went out to media day. JaMychal Davis' third season. So being looked at to be the starting point guard, run the offense. He's had experience in the system. He's done it before. Bryce Dortch. Expect to see a step up from him. He kind of got going later in the season. Same thing. Dylan Grant was one of the best players, like, other than, I guess, Harper and Bailey. He has, like, quite the wingspan. He could shoot. I think he's like 6'8" forward. So I mean, I think he's going to be one of the key players to watch out for this year. I think there's going to be a lot of growth with him. And then centers, Agbole. I mean, I don't really know too much what to say about that, because he just wasn't really great. Didn't have a lot of post moves. Couldn't really score that well in the interior or rebound. But they did get, he's returning. Then they got Bayfall coming in over from Kansas State, which is one of the key weaknesses that this team had last year. Like, I like to say a lot, but some of the key differences or key, things that are better: size, shooting, athleticism. I think Rutgers has all of that this year, and they're going back to more Pico oriented defensive style of basketball to top that off. So that could be the difference as to why this team maybe exceeds expectations, even though having much lower ones than last year.
Well, first of all, I think they're going to exceed expectations simply because the expectations are so low.
Right.
They're on the floor. But I did want to just bring a little bit of attention to Byfall and Darren Buchanan, because Fall, like himself, I don't think that this team is going to be so devoid of height as it was last year.
Right.
So
yeah.
I don't. Obviously, Fall's going to be the big. He's going to be taking care of the other team's big. But he was a very highly rated recruit coming out of high school. Did not see a lot of action at his first two schools, Arkansas and Kansas State. Played in 9 games for Arkansas, averaged 5 minutes per game, including 5 SEC games. Averaged less than a point per game on 50% field goal shooting. So he really wasn't involved all that much. But, honestly, and I don't like want to like bash the team or anything like that, but I think anything is a step up from the big play that we had last year, because we had Lathan Somerville, who just was not a big. Lathan Somerville was not a big.
Yeah, he was like a power forward, basically.
He was playing big, but he's not a big. Yeah. And then Agbole, who was not good.
Yeah, I mean, there's like really no way of getting around that one. Like, he just was really not good, and this team needed like a definite upgrade at the center position. So, they have.
And the fact that it's like this is a definite upgrade kind of speaks
like when he's
volumes.
hardly had any playing time or production.
Yeah, I mean, like, again, I don't want to like just completely like bash, but it's like, oh my god, this is an upgrade, and this isn't even much,
No,
this isn't even much at all. But it does seem that he's approaching this with the right mentality. I did see that he did an article, I want to say it was for the Daily Targum, about how about how he wants to be a major contributor. He simply had the fire.
I think I saw that one too.
Yeah, they had a very nice quote in there.
I think he said I think I know which one you're gonna bring up. But
yeah, y'all needed a center last year. I'm here. So
there it is. Yeah,
there we go. That's the kind of swagger that we want.
Yeah,
that's the swagger and confidence that we want.
Exactly.
Yeah, but shout out to those guys over at the Daily Targum. They do great
Yeah.
work over there.
Hmm.
But yeah, seems like we're going to be, at the very least, we're going to be taking a step up in center play. Whether that step up is anything substantial, we'll have to see. But it definitely seems like it's going in the right direction. And Darren Buchanan, like we talked about how he like kind of like lost his starting role at the end of the season. That's not to say that he wasn't contributing significant minutes for George Washington. I mean, 29 minutes in the college basketball crown against Boise State, 29 minutes against uh, George Mason, 23 minutes against Fordham, 26 minutes against Fordham again. You know, it's not like he was hardly seeing the court. It's not, it's not like this guy was completely buried on the depth chart once he started to slip up a little bit. I mean, he didn't have that many points in those 29 minutes against Boise State. He had 50% field goal shooting for both Boise State and George Mason. So,
Hmm.
but my point is he's not getting completely buried down the depth chart. It's not like, he's playing 5 minutes like Bay Fall was. But Bay Fall was it's like, it's like pick your thing. It's like you play 5 minutes in power conference play, or you play 25 minutes in
Non-conference play.
not non-conference play, but like lower conference play. You play 5 minutes in
Right.
SEC or Big 12 ball, or you play 25 minutes in whatever George Washington is in. Yeah, whatever
Right. So those are
George.
basically kind of like the transfers that we're getting. Like, yeah, they're either like really good mid majors or they're kind of like lower level power fours or power sixes because basketball's a little different where they have the Big East in the power conference groups.
Well, you have to put the Big East in the
Well, yeah,
power
I mean they've
conference.
won like the last. Well, UConn won the last two national championships before Florida won this year. Man, I was so happy when UConn lost in the tournament, but that's a side note. But the Big
I
East is
do like to see
very,
the
very
Big
good.
East do well in basketball, though, because basketball, at the end of the day, that's a Northeast thing.
That's
Like
true. I mean, I
all
like a lot of
these
like the tournament at the Garden, and having teams like Villanova and St. John's and Seton
all
Hall as
these
our
Southern schools
rival.
are getting good at basketball because they have so much extra football NIL money,
Right.
and
I know
you
the
know
SEC had like so many teams make the tournament like this year. Like I think like 14 teams or something like ridiculous. Like they made it. Multiple made deep runs. We got the winner coming from that conference. I think, yeah, it was just I think two of the final four were SEC. So like yeah, it was just like on every level there were. But yeah, the Big East is kind of where Northeast basketball, like I said, Villanova, St. John's, like the Hall. Like, I mean, there's some bad schools in there too, but UConn, of course, is one of the best of those.
yeah,
Providence,
but
yeah, there's a lot of good, big, schools up there. So yeah, like I agree
not
with
even
what you're saying.
not even just that, but you got to think about like local culture too. We have New York City, Boston,
Right, Philadelphia,
Philadelphia. Those kids that
GC,
grow
like
up
Georgetown's over there. Yeah,
kids that grow up in those cities don't grow up playing football. Why? Because there's no field. You know
yeah, it's basketball, it's the gyms. Yeah, exactly. Like it's a Northeast thing, and we're obviously in the Big Ten, so but we definitely fall into that region. So I mean,
exactly. Why do you think like even though we're not that good, we always have an incredible environment at our basketball games
yeah,
because it's a Northeast thing. I'm happy to see the rise of St. John's again. You know,
yeah,
I
they were
like
really
to
good.
see Northeast basketball do well because at the end of the day, Northeast basketball is our thing.
As our basketball. Yeah, no, I agree with that. Yeah, I think people just start getting tired of like the UConn's like dynasty and Dan Hurley's like antics on the sideline and all that good stuff. Because if players were doing what he did, like they would get scolded by like 90% of the coaches in the country. It was getting a little too much. But at the same
But
time,
I'm
like
also just tired of the SEC across the board. So,
that's fair. Yeah, me too. Especially in basketball. I mean, they were looking like a really good league last year. Like I will say that. But this year, I
yeah.
mean, Purdue's at the top yeah, ranked number 1 preseason. Michigan's ranked number 7. So we'll see what the Big Ten has to say. They've always kind of struggled. It's been like a gauntlet, and then in the tournament, like teams have not really typically done that well. I think Michigan State made like the Elite Eight a couple years ago or something like that, but might have been last year, yeah, when they lost to Auburn. So we'll see. I mean, it's a long season, but it feels like the Big Ten's like a it's always like a gauntlet, like all the teams fighting against each other. It's like kind of like I don't like what's the league in football where that's like the Big 12 in football, and then in the tournament it's just like nothing much happens
Wait,
except for
I'm
sorry.
confused about your comparison here.
No, I'm saying like the Big Ten in regular season basketball, like in a way, it's kind of like Big 12 regular season football, where all the teams are kind of competitive, decent enough, and then the tournament they don't really like do a ton. Although
They don't
Arizona
stack
State,
up, yeah.
yeah, they don't exactly stack up. But I feel like the Big 12 is kind of less talented. I don't know if the Big 10 is necessarily less talented, but they don't, yeah, especially at the top, but they don't tend to do us well. What they like, maybe one exception, Michigan State tends to sometimes do okay. Even they're not quite as good as like the teams that they'll face later on for the most part. So it's like, yeah, it's weird, right? But like, I mean, because you see so many Big Ten teams like make the tournament and then they kind of just fizzle out, and it's just like, well, they're so competitive, and it's like, what the heck happened? Like, but yeah, Purdue though, like, I mean, they kind of, they were always getting upset, and then now they, last year they made it. Well, last year they made to the Sweet 16. The year before that, they made to national championship. So they kind of were able to buck some of the trends. This year, they're the number 1 team, in the ranked preseason number 1 team in the country. So we'll see how that pans out. A lot of college basketball nationally to, I guess, look forward to. But I mean, in
Whoa,
terms
hold
of,
on.
yeah, sorry.
Before we get out of the mindset of talking about gauntlets, we got to pivot back to Rutgers basketball a little
I
bit.
was about to get
Because
to our schedule. Yeah.
oh, okay, all right. I didn't realize we were on the same page here.
Hmm.
Because our schedule is not as bad of a gauntlet as people that may seem. I mean, we start off with the 5 cupcakes. We should breeze through like teams like Central Connecticut State, Rider, American. Um, you know, and I think Lehigh, yeah, Lehigh is mixed in there as well. We should breeze through. There's 5 games in the beginning we should breeze through, and
Right.
then
Yeah.
we run into the wall. Um, I I have it blocked out November 24th to December 13th.
Oof, that's gonna
Um,
be a fun stretch for Rutgers fans. Like really exciting. I mean, once again, like just like last year, you go to Vegas in the Players Era tournament. This time we get earlier tip-offs. I remember last year those are night games, which
yeah.
sometimes is more fun. But we played Alabama and Notre Dame at night. This year we're playing, I think, some of the first games of the day actually in Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
It might even be the first game in because that's like 10 a.m. local time. Like it's one
Yeah.
p.m. here in the in the East Coast. But Tennessee, who's number 18 in the preseason poll, they went to the Elite Eight. They lost there, but they still made it that far. Obviously, it's a good team. Notre Dame we beat last year in Vegas. That was a very exciting game. I remember one of their shooters was just like ridiculous in that game, and like they kept forcing extra time, and like Dylan Harper had a really good game there too, and Jordan Durkak had one. Like it was like a lot of good stuff was going on in Vegas. So we get them again. Then we get another game in that stretch against I don't know who, but like whoever finishes in the same bracket as like same standings as Rutgers. So it could be anyone in that field. A lot of teams are going to be in that field, I think, this year, like including multiple other Big Ten teams. So a more expansive field than previously in the Players Era tournament. I think it's like upwards of like 20. I don't know, maybe not 20 teams, but like
There's
18
more
teams.
teams this year. I want to say at least
Yeah,
15.
definitely more teams than there was last year for sure. Yeah, so I mean, I could look that up, but in terms of the other games, coming back home, then obviously hosting number 1 Purdue, like I don't know if they're going to
Oh,
be number 1 at the time, but they'll still be pretty high up there, and that's always like a game where Rutgers has played spoiler, or like obviously like like a few years ago, and then even the year after that when they beat them on like Cam Spencer's 3. So who knows what Rutgers has in mind this time around. And then then going on the road to Michigan a few days later for their first Big Ten road game of the year. That's another top team who's ranked 7. So obviously they're doing something right over there. um so yeah, I mean I think they have their two center lineup, which was really good last year. And then going on the road to Seton Hall, which is always a big rivalry game. Rutgers has won the last couple of them straight, so always good to go and beat Seton Hall. This one's at the Prudential Center, so me and Andrew are talking
Yeah,
about.
but it's going to be a fight. Like
Of course,
that
it's always
Seton
a rock
Hall's not
fight.
just going to give it to us.
Yeah, they're not just exactly. It's always like one of those games where it always comes down to the last possession or very close games. And even last year, even Seton Hall that was like really really bad last year. Rutgers like barely still like won on Dylan. I remember the sequence. It was like Seton Hall missed a couple or made a couple free throws or something. Like all the things need to happen for that game to be tied. And Seton Hall
And they
actually.
did.
Yeah, they did. It was weird. Like we missed our free throws. They made shots. They tied the game, and then Dylan Harper just like shushes the entire building with the 3-pointer from or well not shushes because it's a home game, but gets everyone on their feet for a beautiful 3-point buzzer beater, and that would have been a really damaging loss for Rutgers. So like it's a good thing they won that one. Obviously, but yeah, I mean, like this year we get them on the road. But yeah, that's a one that would be a good one to go to. So we were talking about getting tickets and going to Seton Hall at the Prudential Center should be a fun one. But and then the non-conference winds down with Penn, Dell State, so it should be some wins. But Big Ten play is always a
What did they
downhill as well.
what did they call what did the broadcast call Rutgers Seton Hall last year? They dubbed it New Jersey's largest rock fight.
Yeah. It
I
literally
was
does
like,
play out like a rock fight because I remember even a few years ago it was like extremely ugly and low. It was like 43-46 or something like that. And I was
oh
like,
yeah,
is this
that game
basketball?
was
Like I was like the one that Seton Hall won. Like I was just like, oh my goodness. Like
that's a football score.
yeah, maybe. Yeah, like a very high score. Like the way Rutgers is playing these football games, like we might have a score like that this year, potentially. But
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like it's yeah, no, I mean it's crazy, right? So but yeah, anyway, my point is schedule starts easy big stretch over there from Tennessee to Seton Hall, and then a couple more warm ups, I guess, or maybe like kind of like a cool down and a warm up for Big Ten play at the same time, and then then once that happens, I mean this league's tough. I mean you have Illinois, you have Wisconsin, Michigan State, just to name a few. Even the non-ranked teams like Iowa, Northwestern, Ohio State. I mean nobody's going to be like a give me in the Big Ten. You have Indiana. So
besides Penn State.
Yeah, Penn State looks really, really bad. They might be the worst team in the conference.
They look atrocious.
Yeah, that's true. Other than that, I mean, it's going to be like pretty tough league. UCLA's ranked 12th this year, so that's another one to look out for. West Coast trip, of course. So, yeah, Michigan State, Maryland. That they had a really good season last year. They made it to the Sweet 16, as well before they lost to Florida. So they were like, one of the top second team in the Big Ten. They made a little bit of a run. So that's going to be a team to watch out for as well. I think we probably have a home and home against them, if I'm not mistaken. So that should be do we? I thought we do, but like yeah, we do. So that should be another fun one. And yeah,
no trips to the Garden this year.
I don't know. They haven't. I don't think they've announced anything, but like
they usually don't. It usually takes them a while to announce.
Yeah,
that.
I remember last year they moved the Michigan State game to MSG.
So, well, Michigan State doesn't like playing us in our home arena. They don't.
Yeah, they're
they
scared.
Never have.
And they always like move that game to the why they play like 50 games at the Garden because they're always in the Champions Classic, which is basically for 20-year-old like teams that were used to be good like 10 years ago. Like no offense, but you know what I mean. They're all the blue bloods, like Kentucky, Kansas. It's like the same 4 teams every year, and then they go there multiple other times for exhibit, and then they have to move. They have to move this one away because they're scared of the noise. They don't want to take an L to Rutgers in their own building. So it is what it is. It's a nice fun game. It's basically either dubbed or officially a Rutgers home game. And
I actually did see Michigan State at Rutgers, Michigan State at the Garden. Rutgers fans, when we drew that game close, that was a rocking.
Yeah, that was a rocking environment. It's unfortunate we couldn't pull that one out, but that was the Durkak game, right, where he had like 22.
Yeah,
yeah,
the Jordan Durkak. Jordan Durkak legacy game. Who knew?
Right? He had like one really, really good one. Like, well, he also did. He was like good in spurts, but he was never really like
what he needed to be.
Yeah, but he was. Yeah, I mean, he was really like a defensive like hustler, but he can make some shots. He can like score at the rim, but he also had an ability to shoot threes, and like I think that came out in this game too. Like I was like, whoa, like Jordan Durkak is knocking down shots. Like, you know what I mean? Like I knew he could do it because he did that at the mid-major level. In addition to being their defensive player of the year, Rutgers not quiet, but in this game, 26. Led the team, and then Bailey at 18. I guess Harper didn't play. Oh, he did. He had 6. And then Acuff, I think towards the end of the year last year got really hot. Like I would have really enjoyed seeing him because he kind of developed into that 3-level scorer that I think we expected to get because he was like at Eastern Michigan, he was like one of the top scorers in the country. Here, he kind of started slow. Then he developed into that 3-level scorer, could get to the rim, mid-range 3-pointers. Like he ended up being really good. So like now it's like about who's going to be that guy for Rutgers this season. Because we're probably going to need multiple of them, to be honest with you. So maybe it's Darren Buchanan, maybe it's I don't know. You know what I mean? Dylan Grant, I think, is going to take a huge step up. Like I said,
Are you
Bryce
talking
George
about
as
shooting
well.
from beyond the arc?
Yeah, just like the whole thing. Like he was like kind of like a volume scorer, like you know what I mean. So
Yeah,
yeah,
fair enough. I think you're right. Buchanan's probably going to be the volume scorer. But like the way I see it, like we have Zerno from beyond the arc.
yeah,
I'm still really excited to see what Battle is going to
me
contribute.
too. Yeah, he feels like a jack of all trades like type player in a way too.
Yeah,
Because Zerno's more like a sharpshooter, and maybe a little bit of he also has some size. He can probably get to the rim, but like Battle seems like kind of could do a little bit of everything. I think Buchanan's more of like your inside like forward. I think. And then
yeah,
Grant's more like your outside forward. If that makes sense. So, you know what I mean, like in the way that they'll play. And then hopefully you have Bayfall in there. I like this projected lineup that you have, like Davis, Zerna, Buchanan, Grant, and Bayfall. I think that looks pretty apt, but obviously they're gonna rotate guys in and out. Whether that's
well, I'll be honest with you. A lot of this was actually like I took a look at like what the guys from 247 Rutgers 247 site had to
right,
say. They actually put Bole over Fall, and I'm just like that was like the major change that I made.
right.
I just can't see
Yeah,
that.
I know. I know, like he has more experience and stuff, and maybe they'll use to like football. Well, I don't know if football really did that, but like like use a non-conference to like you rotate guys in and out and try to figure out your
Well,
ideal starting
obviously
lineup.
we're gonna have to do that. There's too many unknowns.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we're gonna have to take advantage of all 5 of those non-con games just
Yeah,
to figure
figure out
out
what
our
you're doing.
roster.
Yeah, like how like Greg Chano would like do that with the O line. Like we have to do that with the roster, figure out who our starting 5 is, who's coming off the bench, in what spots, like all of that. Like kind of sort all that out, and then by the time you hit Vegas, then you should be ready to go with your best foot forward. Obviously, at that point.
Obviously. All right, but that pretty much does it all for men's basketball. It looks like we talked about what we expect out of the team. Expectations are not high, but
Right.
that first gauntlet, is really going to show what this team is. If they play a lot of those teams tough, this team could be all right. But if they don't and they completely fall apart, we know exactly what we're going to be. But we know that it is going to likely be a return to old school pickleball, physical, in your face, steals, blocks,
The whole nine
everything,
yards. Yeah.
like everything to like make rebounds, everything to make your life
Yeah.
a living hell as an offense. But there's really not too much else to say there. Obviously, but and I think this might be the year where our attention should probably be a little bit pivoted more towards women's basketball. What do you say about that, Arnav?
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird to say around here, right? But like, obviously the men's basketball, I'm sure will probably just the way it is get more attention. But at the same time, I think the women's team will also get some attention, and they're for good reason. I think their roster, the roster looks good. I think performance-wise, like they might end up doing better than the men's team, but I'm not too sure just yet on that because our the schedule's tough, but the roster looks a lot like better. I think last year they're kind of had a rough season, but they still made the grade 8, and they have a few returners, but they also have a lot of new players that could really boost this team forward. So they've really hit the portal hard. I mean, just to go through a couple of these players, like I mean, or all of them, while we do this, like Lauren Swan from Arizona, she's could be the team's top scorer. She led Arizona last year. She was on the all freshman team. She led them 5 times, scored in double figures 12 times, career high of 22. She hit 6 threes against Utah last year. Guard Kayla Ivey, Boston College transfer. I think she's a grad transfer. She played all 4 years there. She's a really good like pass first point guard because her assist to turnover ratio is 3.3, which is third in the nation and first in the ACC last year. Another BC transfer, Nene Nadaye, who is originally from Senegal, played last 2 seasons at Boston College. Guard Faith Blackstone, first team from the Southland Conference, led Stephen F. Austin. I was about to say Stephen A. Austin, but Stephen A. Smith. But no, Stephen F. Austin from Texas to the tourney as the Southland Conference champion, played a big role there. Averaged 14.8 points per game. Amani Lester, another name to watch out for. Kansas State did really well last year. They went 28-8. She was a big contributor, led them to the Sweet 16 as well. And then forward, Yassine Nadaye led. I don't think the two Nadayes are related, but Yassine led
No,
UNC.
they are not.
Yeah, they're not, but probably same origin, but like not related. But led UNCG. That's I don't even know. UNC Greensboro, I believe, to the NCAA tournament is one of the mid majors from whatever conference they're in, one of the smaller ones. So I mean, like
Whatever
the
conference.
SoCon, I believe, is I think it's the Southern Conference. But whenever you do that, you're bringing a mid major team to the dance. That means they're the absolute best in that conference. Oftentimes, like how does that compare to the mid majors or the high majors rather? Like sometimes they do well, sometimes not really. Like it's relative, but that means they're at least competitive. They win their league. Women's basketball is even more relative than men's. Like I've seen the top mid majors get absolutely crushed the second they play like in the tournament against like a good like power 4 team. But against some of the plucky ones like Rutgers, like you could definitely see upsets. So I mean, just keep that in mind. Like all these players are really high contributors. There's a lot of power 4 transfers or again power 6 transfers because I'm shifting my mindset now from football to basketball. That always gets it's like now you start thinking about quadrants and this and that too, and like it's just like it's completely different, but like yeah, I mean,
it's no longer records. It's about quadrants.
yeah, it's so much more about who you're. And football, there is some of this too, because like with the college football playoff, strength of schedule, but it's not nearly the same as basketball, where every game is broken into quadrants, and so like the net. And I love when they had that sign saying the net is a fraud, because like Rutgers was doing bad in the net, and they were still like winning games and stuff like that. I don't know. I was like, that was for the men's team, but I mean, even the women's team, same kind of stuff. But yeah, a lot of transfers, really heavy on transfers. And then yeah, I mean returning production too. I mean Antonia Bates returning from an injury, she was one of the top players. I think like 2 seasons ago when she was last there, like she was really really solid. And then obviously missed a lot of time. So I think she's going to be a big part of this roster as a senior. So I mean. Yeah, like that's going to be really exciting. She's a really good. I think she's also a 3-level scorer. I remember she was also hitting threes, 6'3", guard forward combination. On top of that, Deja Young played in 6 games last year. She kind of burst onto the scene, had a career high of 16 minutes against the Gophers, but got some playing time. Zakara Perkins was really solid for Rutgers last year, averaged over 5 points and 2.5 rebounds, career best of 13 for his Army. She was a freshman last year. Forward Janae Walker saw action in 28 games, career best of 6 points against Penn State. So she was another freshman. Even Kendi Brant got in the lineup towards the end of they were rotating players in and out of the lineup, using everybody on the roster. She played in 14 games last year. Not a joke. Hit threes against Wagner in Buffalo. Buffalo was a grade 8 game in the WNIT where they lost. So it's not like she's going to ride the bench the whole season and do nothing. Like she's definitely part of this team, part of the rotation as well. So, and then freshman Michaela Moore was a late addition in this cycle. She's really could be a solid player, averaging 21 points, 7 boards, over 2 assists and 1.3 steals for her on Nazareth High School last year. They won a state championship and a borough championship. She had 18 points and 10 boards in the title game. So, I mean, she's like really solid. Looking forward to seeing her on the court, and Antonia Bates as well. And all these transfers. I mean, I think it's going to be really exciting to see how the transfers work in with a few returning players, and then adding like a recruit like Michaela Moore in there as well. How she fits in this lineup. She's a certified bucket, so I mean, like, it's going to be exciting to see. Like, I mean, I think this team has a lot of talent. It's going to be exciting to see how they do. But I'm really looking forward to this. I feel like this team has the potential of doing well, like exceeding expectations. Like, expectations again for women's basketball have, like, they've for the men's team they've been bad. The women's team, and like sometimes people
They
just
should be
don't care.
good. Yeah.
But this year people should absolutely care, because this team has the potential to do a lot better than they have been doing in previous seasons.
I completely agree with you there. Obviously, they've been struggling the last couple seasons. I feel like people thought that the last season was supposed to be the turnaround. Some off the court issues
Yeah,
occurred, and
yeah,
some toxicity or cancer was spread throughout the locker room. We're not going to get into that,
yeah,
but the team still crawled its way to the tournament, to the Big Ten tournament. They still made their way to the WNIT. There's a lot of resilience, a lot of fight in this team. With all these new additions coming, especially who's the one from Arizona? I'm blanking on her name right
Swan.
now. Swan, yeah,
Lauren
that's the
Swan's
one.
supposed to be really. I think that's the one. The circle, like, she's gonna probably be the leading scorer on this team, and did really well over for the Cats. Like, yeah, definitely, yeah, could be I probably will be the leading scorer of the team. So I mean, I'm really excited to see her play for sure and lead this team.
Yeah, I also took a look at like each individual roster. This is a tall roster, for
Yeah, for
women's
women's
basketball.
basketball. Yeah, I mean,
This is a tall roster.
yeah,
So you've got some
size-wise, definitely
good
big.
size, some good power conference players. It's
Yeah,
very exciting to see. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, we look at this roster. I mean, some of the guards are a little on the shorter side, like, but they're bucket getters, like Lauren Swan, Kayla Ivey. But then you have Michaela Moore coming in at 6 feet, Antonia Bates at 6'3", DJ Young. I mean, yeah, and then you got Precious Gem Wheeler, who's 6'3" freshman. I think she's going to be doing her senior year of high school first. But then some of these other players too. I mean, like Faith Blackstone coming in 6 feet, Nadaye 6'1", Perkins is at 6'3", Lester 6'3", the other Nadaye is 6'4", Yassine, even Kennedy Brandt's 5'10", Janae Walker is 5'3". So yeah, a lot of size. When you're talking 6'3" for 6'4" for women's basketball players, that's very tall. I mean, like Steph Curry is 6'3". Like, those are smaller men's basketball players, like guards. Not even like super small men's. Those are like your average guard. Is maybe like point guard, shooting guard is like around that height. So that's very tough for women's basketball players. And
I would just like to point out that me and Steph Curry are the exact same height. So
oh wow, that's
I could have gone pro.
Yeah.
I could have gone pro. Just wanted to say that.
Yeah. Fortunately, I wasn't blessed with too much height, but I am like kind of a sharpshooter on the court. Actually, that's like my I like knock down 3-pointers like no tomorrow. I don't know, it's weird, but I'm streaky. But that's like my main. Anyway, so over for the women's coaching staff too, like a bit of a kind of a rebuild a little bit. I mean, they have some really good.
I don't even know if it's a rebuild though. I would go with a rearm because
reload. Yeah,
reload.
How do you say that name?
LeBouf, I want to say.
I think so. Coming over from UCLA, known as one of the best assistant coaches in the business for that team.
Huge.
So, and then Sean LeBeau, who is her husband, coming over from UC Riverside, Danielle Edwards from SMU, James Spinelli from Northeastern. I've heard like good things about all four of them really, but especially Shannon LeBeau, for their coaching staff. I think it's just it's just terrific. Yeah. UCLA. Yeah, I mean,
I can't stress it enough. Like UCLA has been nothing but dominant for the past couple of seasons. They've had, consistent tournament entrances. I want to say she was part of another team. I want to say.
I think before that she was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me see.
I'm just gonna do a quick search. Hopefully, I can see like a career or something.
Yeah. Assistant at USC before that. And then Duke. Oh, she was on Duke. Yeah, she coached at Duke for 5 years, and she helped them reach the Final Four, make it to the national championship game, playing in the NCAA tournament, and then recruiting classes of 2, 3, and 5 in the country, capturing 2 ACC season championships. So the recruiting also, that's another big piece with these assistant coaches, especially, is like how good they are at recruiting. So Duke, she did a great job, and then helping pulling in UCLA's number 1 class in 14-15. And then,
Yeah.
yeah, and then on the court stuff, I mean, 321 wins for the Bruins, 9 tournament berths, an Elite Eight, and a Final Four last year, for UCLA, where I believe they lost to UConn, because I think UConn was just so dominant last year, they just beat everybody. But yeah, really, really good. And then recruiting side again too. I mean, 14 top 25 recruiting classes, and including, like I mentioned, the number 1 class in 14-15, and another one in 21-22. So I mean, UCLA, I mean, just really solid. They have like one player, Lauren
Across the
Betts.
board.
Yeah, Lauren Betts was like really, really good, extremely solid. So from last year, I remember hearing about her, and she was just absolutely terrific. So yeah, I mean, like, as the center over there. So I mean, but that's just one player. I mean, the whole team, very, very solid. Obviously, the season that they had, joining with UCLA and USC joining the Big Ten from the Pac-12, like women, those are like already like the two of the top teams in this entire conference in women's basketball. So I mean, very, very exciting to see that for sure. But yeah, getting like an assistant coach like that on our staff, and then 3 other ones on top of that who are all did really well at their last stops. I mean, like those are, just really good things. For sure. So I mean, definitely excited to see that Coquise Washington now going into her 4th season here for Rutgers as well. And
Starting to I wonder if she's starting to feel that it's a little bit of a prove it season because she hasn't really done much in her tenure here. So now I feel like maybe the gas is on a little bit,
maybe, yeah,
you know, maybe it's time to start seeing some progress because the team really hasn't seen much progress at all with her as head coach. So, I really am starting to wonder if she's starting to feel, maybe the dial going up a little bit
mm,
on the stove underneath her.
yeah, potentially, because our expectations haven't been great. But this year, there's a lot of talent coming in on this team, and
A lot of good assistants coming in too.
that
So
too. Yeah, exactly. Could be definitely like some pressure starting to cook a little bit.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, I saw I think On3, like, their women's writer, Talia Goodman, reported that Rutgers women's basketball fell 67-63 in a scrimmage against Temple. This was like a couple weeks ago. I saw it like multiple times, so it's definitely like accurate. But I mean, I don't know how good Temple's supposed to be. They're kind of like, I guess, a mid-major, maybe a higher mid-major, because it's an American team, a local one. So it's one game. I mean, at least that shows they're going to be pretty competitive. Their non-conference also, like the men's, we start off pretty light, but it's not super light. I mean, there are some games in there that kind of like, could give Rutgers a hard time. Like, I think Wagner, like, obviously that's not really a good match for Rutgers. We played them last year to open the season, was kind of like domination on that side of the ball. But or in last year's season opener, or not even season
wait,
opener, but just when
they dominated us.
no, like we dominated
Oh,
them.
okay. You made it sound
Not
like they dominated us.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. No, we beat them pretty badly, 86-48. So that was
Ooh.
a pretty lopsided matchup. Over not the season opener, but a little bit later on in the season last year. This season it is the season opener, for us. So, and then Quinnipiac, I think one of the top teams last year in the MAC, the other MAC with 2 A's. They didn't make the NCAA's because they lost to Fairfield, they've really become like a wagon. But then obviously they got blown out by Kansas State, which 85-41, which shows like the wide disparities in women's college basketball is talking about. But still, they won 28-4 regular season. They lost to Seton Hall in the WBIT, so another different tournament for women's basketball. Which it's so funny seeing like how many tournaments there are for like after March Madness. Sometimes it's like the NIT, and then it's like the CBI, and it's like people are doing bracketology for that. I'm just like, please just like stop with that. Like it's just, but that's how it is, I guess. But I think the WBIT is a little bit more respectable. So, but yeah, I mean, not to go off too much of a tangent. Quinnipiac, a good team, a good mid major. Rhode Island, hearing similar things about them, a solid mid major. They're in the A10, so it's a little bit more of a competitive conference.
Yeah.
Yeah, so another East Coast-ish based conference. They were the fifth seed there. They were not that great last year. They were 17-16 in that conference, so they weren't really like like one of the top teams. But that could be still maybe one to watch out for. It's an early game. It's an early tip time to 11 a.m. Quinnipiac and Rhode Island, I would say tough mid majors. FDU last year made the tournament for women's basketball too. So I mean, they were I think completely overmatched. Coming out of the NEC, got dominated. Although they kind of hung around, but they lost. Yeah, they lost 73-51 against TCU, who was the number 2 seed. Had multiple last year. They had Haley Van Lith on that team. So, but still, I mean, they ran the table pretty much in their conference. So coming here, that's not going to be a game you can necessarily sleep on. They're already going to see Purdue and Notre Dame early in the season. So they'll probably be ready for. Maybe not ready, but like they're probably still gonna not be like a complete walkover. Although last year Rutgers did beat them 83-58. So some early interesting tests that are mid majors that I think Rutgers should be able to win. But I think Quinnipiac and Rhode Island had similar nets to Rutgers, if I'm not mistaken. When I checked that out this year, which I thought was interesting. I think Quinnipiac was actually slightly higher. Rhode Island was like slightly lower, or like right around the same. I think they were like very, very close to each other. But then the tougher ones, obviously, there's a lot of easier ones on there too, like Wagner to open the year, Stony Brook. But when you get to games like Auburn on the road, which is a rematch of 2 years ago, where Rutgers lost, a rematch against Maya Petticord, who transferred back down there after starting her career at A&M. And then, that's going to be a big game for Rutgers. First road game of the season for the Scarlet Knights, too, going down to SEC territory. That should be an interesting one. And then, yeah, I mean, Iowa, the first Big Ten game against
I
another
was going to
ranked
say,
team.
we have to talk about, like, okay, yes, the out of conference is not easy. Yes, there is no cakewalks. We have to talk about it. The Big Ten is probably by and large the best women's basketball conference out there. If
Yeah,
I'm not if
huge.
if
Yeah.
I'm not going out on a limb and saying that, and then by and large the best women's basketball conference. So with that in mind, Rutgers has to match up against several ranked teams, starting off with number 21 Iowa, number 23 Michigan State, number 10 Maryland,
Yeah.
number 13 Michigan, number 18 USC, number 3 UCLA. So that
Yeah, it's a
is just the
brutal,
preseason rankings, and that is
brutal
just
stretch. Yeah.
there. It's not even like a stretch. It's just who we have
Yeah,
to
it's not
play
even,
because
yeah,
this
not even
conference
a
is so
stretch.
good in women's basketball that it's impossible. It's going to be very hard to navigate. Very interested to see how they rise to those
Yeah,
challenges.
like last year, Maryland, I mean, that number 10, I mean, they had a good year too. Like they beat Alabama, who's also a very solid team. They lost to South Carolina by 4 points, and that team is usually like an absolute steamroller of a team that, that last year they went to the final and they lost to UConn by 23. But I mean, Maryland gave them a tough fight, like tougher fight than some of the other, really good teams as well. So I mean, just to see them play at that level, like that's obviously like they had like people like Ali Kubek, they had Cheyenne Sellers, who's been there for several years. So they're obviously they had former Rutgers player Kayleen Smichael, who's been doing really well over there as well. So I mean, that's definitely going to be a team to like watch out for again. And then of course UCLA, even like I mean, and USC's going to have Juju Watkins back in the lineup
Yep.
this year, so that's going to be definitely a team to watch out for. To maybe even contend or win the whole thing potentially. UCLA, the Bruins too. I mean, last year, they had Lauren Betts. They're gonna. I don't know if she's still. I think she still has some eligibility, so she's gonna be there again this year. That's gonna be a very tough team to watch out for. And yeah, just going up and down the stretch. I mean, even the game against Iowa, number 21, they're bringing back Hannah Stulke. They have some players. Emily Rodriguez. So they're going to be like a tough team. There's no Caitlin Clark, but they still, still a very, very solid team for for Iowa basically, and that's going to be a tough conference opener for Rutgers. Definitely a stretch to watch out for. I would say early is Auburn. Then you have a few easier games against low and mid majors. Siena, Northeastern, St. Peter's, so then Iowa, a road game at Princeton. Princeton's been knocking off Rutgers for several years in both men's and women's basketball. So, right,
Headache,
you know what I mean?
headaches, nothing but a headache.
Yeah,
Those tigers over there on the opposite side of the state, nothing but a headache.
yeah, just a short, maybe 30-40 minute drive down to Princeton. But yeah, this just it's frustrating. They've always been like, well, last year they lost the first four to Iowa State, but they've always been in like contention. They've beaten Rutgers like I think three seasons in a row or something, and oftentimes
Yeah,
like relatively handily. Like they beat Princeton 66-49. Or yeah, they beat Rutgers 66-49. And by the way, the recently like Quinnipiac, who I brought up, they beat Princeton 74-66 in that same year. So like that's a reason why like I brought that up. But Princeton themselves have beat Rutgers in 23, 66-55. I mean, like, so, multiples in 76, 77-56 against the Scarlet Knights in 22. So they've made the tournament several times, NCAA tournament, that is. And in the men's side, also, they've beaten Rutgers a couple times. But yeah, this year they don't play Princeton in the men's. The women's, they do. So Auburn, Princeton, those are your money games, and the not money games because they're not, but like I mean, those are your big games on the women's side. And having Iowa and Princeton back to back like that in the same week, that's big. Then you get Lafayette in that kind of team down stretch where there's not really a lot going on, and then Michigan State on the road to start the big gauntlet of Big Ten play. Wisconsin for New Year's, and then at Ohio State. Then this whole ship gets on the road, and
yeah.
yeah, I mean, we'll see how this goes, but I mean, like, it's a brutal schedule. Um, the interesting wrinkle in the women's, conference tournament versus the men's is that the women's have only the top 15 teams getting into the conference tournament, while the men's have all 18. So that was a change that they made in voting in the off season. So I thought that was interesting. Like the reasoning behind that too was kind of interesting for men's. They wanted to have the whole field in there, while women's like it was kind of diluting the quality because I guess the quality I guess is seen as higher in the women's where your top 15 and even like your top 8, top 9, your tournament teams are going to be that much better. While men's is kind of like your messy gauntlet where like any team can kind of make a run, and any team can boost another team because the parity is more than women. So I thought that rationale was really interesting because I was watching the live show where they released these schedules, and that's what they were talking about when they like voted on this, and I was like, that's really interesting actually. But yeah, so Rutgers, I believe they did make the conference tournament last year, if I'm not mistaken.
They did, yes, by the skin of their teeth. They got bounced immediately.
Yeah, it's like so it's like typical, but at least they made it. Like like some teams didn't. So, but yeah,
Penn
and then they
State.
still went on a big run in the WNIT, which again shows how relative this stuff is because those were mid-major teams with records of 25-8 and 25-8 and 25-7, and then Buffalo obviously beat them. They had a record of 28-7, but yeah, so they made a run in the WNIT, which was an exciting way to end the season. But in the conference tournament, they have to be top 15 to finish in that group, which I mean I think they can do with all the talent they have this year. They might even be closer to like that 10 seed maybe. I don't know how good this league, I mean it's going to be a big really good league, but hopefully we see an improvement of a few spots. They get into that higher double digits, maybe get like a single bye or be the higher seed in that first game, something like that. You want to see some progress with the talented roster like this. And yeah, I mean, Penn State's going to be interesting seeing them twice because they're going to go against former Rutgers guard Kayomi McMiller, who's obviously a lot of off court issues. She was a 5-star coming in, so those are going to be fun too. But I mean, like, yeah, I think Rutgers should show some progress. I mean, they have to be top 15 in the conference to make the Big Ten tournament, but that's
And I
really
think they
low.
will. I think they
Yeah,
will.
it feels like a really low bar, and even then, they've been able to, even as bad as they've been the last few years, they've been able to make it. So, I mean, this year, I think they can take that next step and, maybe, like I said, maybe beat the 10 or 11 rather than the 14 or 15 and get bounced immediately.
Hopefully, I just want to see win a good season. Make a little progress going in the right direction.
Right,
Um,
right, right.
yeah. So that might be everything that we have for women's basketball. Unless there's something you want to mention real quick.
Um, no, I mean, I think we pretty much, I think we pretty much covered it. Like, yeah, I mean, hopefully we see some more wins in there, and like the recruiting, I think is going in the right direction too. I think they already picked up their first commit from the 27 class. I wrote an article on that, but now the name is now slipping me. But I could check that real quick. But there,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Chante Murray, for I believe the 26 class. So they're already getting started. She was one of the top players in Canada, I believe, like fourth ranked in all of Canada, which I think is going to be really, I think that's going to be really good. But yeah. So there are, the more they win here is the better they can do. Obviously, when it comes to like next year. So yeah, I mean, other than that, I think we can shift over down to we could shift over to sorry to the non-revenue sports, because I know a lot's been going on since we kind of last talked about it on the point guard. Yeah, I mean, not the point guard. I'm like trying to read these roster breakdowns, and yeah, a lot's been going on since we last talked about non-revenue sports. I'm like all
Yeah.
over the place today, but yeah, since we last talked about it on the podcast, is what I was trying to say. We've obviously written articles about it. Like our other writers have done a really good job, like John especially, in terms of covering non-revenue sports for us. I've tried to do my part as well. I went to a couple of games like volleyball, field hockey, and definitely seen some of the other action on campus. We can also talk about, we could start with soccer because men's soccer.
Well,
Sorry, you understand?
I think we got to put a little bit of a disclaimer. A lot of this is not good. So,
Yeah, they're kind of going a little bit in the wrong direction, which is a little bit not great. But obviously the men's team on a 3-game skid, they fell to number 8 Maryland, number 2 Washington, I believe by identical
21, number
21
21.
Washington, 2-0 margins in both of those games. And then UCLA on the road. That was a late night game. So they're 8-5 now overall. They flipped down to 3-4-1 in conference, but with the season that they've had so far, they should still be in line to make the conference tournament. And I think they still have. Are they done with their regular season, or they still have? They still
I
have.
want to say they have like one game left.
They have a couple actually. Yeah, they have Michigan State on the road, and then or no, at home on Halloween night actually, which that should be interesting. And then they have at Indiana the following Friday in Bloomington. So a couple more games for a chance to bounce back. Obviously, they were doing really really well for the longest time, but not many losses in there. But then lately they yeah, they took two losses to ranked opponents, so they couldn't really make it to the top of the standings in the Big Ten. And then UCLA, like that's a tough loss out there on the West Coast, 5-2, which is
Yeah.
a lot of goals for a soccer game. A lot of goals allowed. So 3-game skid for the men. Things are still, I guess, looking up because they look like they're going to be able to make the Big Ten tournament, and we'll see what happens when they get there. And women's soccer too. I mean, really, kind of a rough season, a very rough season, but they did get a win over Michigan on Senior Day, which was really nice because that weekend, not a lot of teams won for homecoming weekend at all. I mean, the football team got demolished, so a bit of a surprise to see the women's team being the one to turn the corner and get their first win in like a month of action, 3-1. And Ashley Barron, I think, had 2 goals in that game, including like a really nice one from outside the box on like a cross. So I mean, or just a long kick that she lofted over the goalkeeper. So yeah, I mean, like Nata Ramirez, who's also a terrific goal scorer. They both lead the team with 4. She also had a goal in that game as well. So Rutgers dominated that game. They led in shots 19-9, shots on goal 12-4. Olivia Bodmer, another a rock in goal. They honored their seniors in that game. Rachel Quigley, who's also a goalkeeper, got the start. Olivia Bodmer, um, um, I guess they're one of their star defensive players, Marcia Ojo, midfielder Ellie Post, and then midfielder forward Nata Ramirez. So like some of the top players, going out on a high. I guess against Maryland, it was a 0-0 tie, but I believe they also kind of dominated some of the categories like possession. They dominated in shots on goal and shots, but they were unable to find the
Yeah.
back of the net against the Terrapins. Yeah, 19-7 in shots on goal 6-2. So they really finished the season in a strong way. But it was just a really disappointing season as a whole. Obviously, like their streaks are snapped. I think they made the national tournament like 13 years in a row, which is insane. The Big Ten tournament probably every year, and like now they didn't make either of those, but they're pretty poor record, 4-7-5 and 2-7-2 in Big Ten play. It's just not going to get you anywhere. So I mean, like one of the bottom teams in the conference, but it's just disappointing. Like I thought, like they kind of had, maybe that's their
Yeah, they
freshman.
have the talent, so
Yeah, definitely had
it
the
just didn't
talent.
materialize.
Yeah, I think after some of their freshmen, as we see some more of Nata Ramirez and she's a senior, but like some of the freshmen, they had like 8 freshmen come in this year. As some of them start to materialize, like Kennedy Cotter, she played a lot. Some of their other players, as some of them get going, I think they'll be a better team. There's a lot of talent coming in, but there's also a lot of talent going out too. Ashley Barron, I think, has one more year. She's a junior, so she's going to be huge. I think she was a leading goal scorer last year, this year as well, tied. So I mean, Julia Joseph, that's another name. Olivia Bomber, they're gonna have to figure out what to do at goal. I think Lauren Swafford's like one of the younger commits that might end up taking the starting job over there for next year. So I mean, yeah, I mean, it's gonna be really interesting to see how this team looks as they rebuild for 2025. But the grind
Yeah,
doesn't stop in the off season. It's recruiting. It's like a lot of other things. So we'll see how that one goes. But really disappointing year for women's soccer. I thought they kind of do better. They've always been like better in relativity to the men. Obviously, wouldn't play out like that on the field, but like record wise, they've like been a better team. They made the tournament. Big Ten tournament. Last year they went to the championship game. They went to the NCAA tournament. They lost obviously in the first round, but this year they kind of had a decent start. They started going from wins to ties, and then just a lot of losses towards the end, and that just didn't look good.
fell
So
apart from there. Yeah,
yeah, that's kind of like a wrap on women's soccer. Unfortunately, no postseason action for women's. Men's though looks like there will be some of that. So with their record, which is pretty promising. But yeah,
yeah.
field hockey as well. Like that's another one of the top teams
Well,
for records.
field hockey is interesting because if you look at their schedule, and it's a perfect split.
Yeah,
Every
literally a
single
perfect flip.
no, listen.
Almost. Yeah.
Every single non-ranked opponent they played, they beat,
And usually pretty
and
handily too.
they lost to every single ranked opponent that they played.
Except for one. They beat UConn 3-2. But other than that, yeah, you're 100%
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Other than UConn, yeah, every single they did not lose to a single
Ranked
um,
team.
non-ranked team. Ex- yeah,
Yeah,
and
I don't
they
think they
did
did
not
though,
beat a single ranked team besides UConn.
which is so
I'm
weird.
looking
And
at this. I'm
they've
literally looking at the
dominated
schedule.
against the non-ranked teams too. Like even in conference play, 5-0 against Michigan State, 4-0 against Indiana. I mean, some of these other major teams as well. But like, I mean, yeah, every ranked game, like starting from the beginning where they played teams like Syracuse and Virginia and neutral site in Columbus, all the way to Monmouth in state to conference play.
But
I mean, you name it. Like, yeah, this last stretch though was really. I mean, coming off a 4-0 win in Indiana,
wait.
but sorry.
Before we even get to the last stretch, and this just shows like how close this team is,
To
right?
breaking through. Yeah,
Yeah, number 3 Virginia, they lose 1-0. Number 11 Princeton, they lose 1-0 in overtime.
overtime.
Um, there's another one. Number 12 Michigan, they lose 2-1.
2-1.
Number 11 Iowa, they lose 4-3 in overtime.
Yeah.
Number 11 Maryland, they
Yeah.
lose 1-0 in overtime. I'm like, you're talking about a team that has absolutely taken care of their non-ranked opponents, beat one ranked opponent, but in a lot of these matchups against higher ranked opponents, they're like just there, and
Just
it's
there,
like
but not there. Like they're
it's
not able
it's
to get that game-winning goal. Basically, is what it
it
is. Like,
it's astonishing to me that it's like you're fighting these guys, you're fighting these opponents so well, and
yeah, it just hasn't.
just not there.
It just hasn't like I don't know. It's part of that, like I don't want to say it's like luck, or are those teams just slightly better than Rutgers, where it's just like
It's
they're just not
probably a
able to do
depth
it.
thing. It's probably
Probably,
like a depth thing where, because all those losses in overtime, we're
yeah.
exhausted at the end
That's
of the
true. That's a
game.
60-minute game plus another like 5-minute period or 50-minute
Yeah,
period. However, yeah, I mean that's true. They probably have like the starters. I think there's been a lot of great stuff for Rutgers. Like our goalkeeper Emily Nichols has led the team like the conference
star,
in saves. Like yeah,
star.
she's really good. And then on Puck Winter's been like a defensive player of the country, not only for the week, not only the Big Ten, and then some of the goal scorers as well, like Olivia Deswan has been really good. Paulina Nicholas, who's one of the captains. Like I mentioned, Nichols is definitely a star because she's led the team, led the conference in saves. Like she's let some in, but like she's led the conference in
Yeah,
saves, like pretty much I think almost all year. So like I mean she's won Big Ten Defensive Player of the Week, Freshman of the Week. So just a lot of and then goal scorer Olivia Fraticelli. She's like another one of the I think she leads like I said leads the team in goals scored. So definitely a few players who are on the more offensive
yeah,
minded as well, which obviously that's really important. But yeah, other than Northwestern, which I went to like part of that, they lost 5-0. They were outmatched in that one. They were pretty much dominated by the number one team. They have a player on the Olympic team, and Ashley Sessa, who had 3 goals in that game, which is just like sensational. But other than that, they have never really yeah, I mean, they've never really gotten like completely like outmatched. It's just that they've gotten beaten, but they haven't really gotten like destroyed by any other like ranked opponent even. Like I mean,
yeah.
like you said, Maryland 1-0 overtime, Iowa 4-3 overtime. That it could be a depth thing. Maybe they don't have enough behind their top players. Maybe they don't have enough goal scorers because a lot of these are very defensive minded games. Although
Right.
against the non ranked teams, then they have no problem scoring goals. So you know what I mean? Maybe it's that like that,
And
the higher class depth that can get you a goal in a late game situation because Nichols can only hold on off in goal for so long if the shots aren't
absolutely.
coming, you know what I mean? So against good teams, you need that level of, high level scoring where you can get a goal in a tough situation. They haven't really been able to do that so far
Right.
against tough teams, but they do have a bounce back opportunity at Penn State for Halloween.
Well, it's not a bounce back opportunity. It's a must
It
win
must win,
game.
right? To make the tournament, right? They need to win
Because
that one.
of where they both sit in the Big Ten, like when it comes to conference record, I'm almost sure, like, because like it's weird.
Yeah, I think the top 7 teams out of 9 make the Big Ten tournament in field hockey.
Yeah,
And
because
Rutgers
it's
is kind
only
of right on that cusp, but so is Penn State. So like Northwestern, obviously they're like a wagon. Like some of these other teams that we lost to, like
right,
Maryland, even Indiana, who we beat, is third because they're 4-3. Rutgers is 3-4. So there's a lot of jockeying that could go on because if Rutgers wins a game, then they're 4-4, and they could even get higher into that tournament. Against some of these teams, like maybe they
right,
have to head
right.
to head over IU. Stuff like that. So like that's all going to come into play final weekend. But Penn State, meanwhile, is 2-5. If they beat Rutgers, they're 3-4, and they have the head-to-head. Then Rutgers can miss the tournament. So Rutgers definitely has got to get a win here. To be in the field. Which
Yeah,
is
and I
pretty.
was gonna say like, oh, maybe Rutgers has the better overall, so maybe that doesn't even matter. But that would put Rutgers at 8-9 overall as well.
Yeah, losing
So
overall
yeah,
record too,
and
which
then Penn State would have the head-to-head, so Penn State would get the nod. So absolute must win
right.
out there in Happy Valley. Um, Go Rutgers.
Yeah, go Knights. It's the Rutgers podcast, but but like I love that. But for volleyball too, like they had a really strong start to the season. They've still already exceeded their win total from last year with 10. However, they are on a 7-game losing skid. They've been competitive in many sets. They haven't been good enough to win a lot of them. That's kind of what the problem
Obviously.
is. But yeah, I mean, like, but yeah, it's been like kind of a tough sledding for Rutgers volleyball after starting Big Ten play. I mean, they got the win over Maryland, at Rutgers for their first conference win of the year, and they're only so far because they lost to Maryland in the rematch in College Park. They got swept against Northwestern, Illinois, Nebraska. It's the number one team. That was a big sellout. But then after that, Purdue on another homecoming loss for RU. I think again they're always like kind of in sets, not good enough to win. Penn State 3-0 loss. Iowa, they played a really good game. They ended up losing 3-2. I was actually watching some of this because it was on Big Ten Network during the same time as some like NFL Sundays, like when my Giants were playing the Eagles, and that was a tough loss. But I saw volleyball was up 2 sets to nothing against the Hawks, but unfortunately the Tides kind of turned on them in that matchup too. Iowa is also a similar team. They are 12 and 10, but just 3 and 7 in the Big Ten. So they're kind of like better than most of the non-con teams, and not really good enough to compete in the Big Ten. Probably they're not ranked. So this was kind of like a game where maybe Rutgers could win. However, obviously Rutgers got the first 2 sets 25-20, 26-24. But then Iowa came back 25-16 the third set, pretty strong, 27-25 in the fourth. So Rutgers had a chance to, I guess, win the match there, but they weren't able to do so. Iowa able to take that one. And then finally 15-9 the fifth. So that's like a little bit of a shorter set because the match went the distance. But kind of same key performers, like the Ali Dutton coming up with a lot of digs, Lily Bolin passing the 1,000th career assist mark. At the net you have Natalie Robinson with 10 kills, Tara Garvey 12 kills, Laura Hardison 14 kills, Aspen Maxwell 16 kills and five digs and 2 blocks. So I realized with going in person, we have like a couple of people at the back, like Bull and Dutton, who are really good at like getting the ball off the ground, setting it up, and at the front, and we have like really, really good blockers from Hardison, Maxwell, Garvey, Robinson, like at the net and getting the balls down. We have a really good front line. A couple of people on the back line that are pretty good too. So I mean, it's exciting to see. I mean, it's a fun game, but Rutgers, not quite at the level where they need to be
just
in
need
the
a
Big
little
Ten.
bit more, but they're going in the right direction, so that's undeniable.
Definitely, and I mean, compared to where they were last season, where they were 6-24, and I don't even think they won like maybe one conference game in the entire year, and they've already passed that. They still have like a month left in the season, so this year they go over to or this week, today's Wednesday, but yeah, this week they go over to Ohio State for this road trip. Started at Penn State, Iowa. Guess they came back, but then at Ohio State, Michigan State. Then they'll be home for some more games, Michigan, Ohio State again. There's a couple games at the College Ave gym that are free, so maybe check them out.
Yeah,
And then
absolutely.
yeah, you know what I mean? Like, why not, right? And then they go to USC, UCLA, Indiana, a lot of ranked teams, because just like like women's basketball, Big Ten is like one of the top volleyball conferences. A lot of ranked teams in there. Minnesota, that's a rematch game. Later in the month, Oregon, Washington. So a little homestand at the end of the year. But, a lot of these teams, like last year, Penn State won the national championship over Nebraska. It was like all Big Ten final, I believe. So, I mean, like that was, Big Ten basically has a lot of the top teams, a lot of the top teams and a lot of top 25 teams as well in that
Yeah.
conference. So it's a very loaded conference, which is probably why, like, just like field hockey and just like football, where you can do good in the non-conference field hockey is a little different because it's more like a ranked non-ranked split. But for sometimes for volleyball, it looks like, and a lot of the sports, this year they looked a lot better. But in the Big Ten, like we could see it. They're in a lot of games, but they're not good enough to win. So that just shows like the quality of depth in the Big Ten. And obviously the star power at the top of the Big Ten as well. So I mean, but like you said, upward momentum for volleyball. I guess another thing that I wanted to note, swimming and diving has started their season. They won their opening meet. I think they lost their second meet when they hosted Arkansas and in Miami, because I checked that when that was going on. Did not look well, but they have like some really good divers. They're one of the top diving teams in the country. Preseason number 6. So their meet against Miami and Arkansas was against number 2 and number 20. They have some good swimmers, but the divers, there's multiple of them who have competed internationally for the U.S. So there's just like a really, really good women's divers on that team. A lot of transfers on the swimming side, but unfortunately they did fall in these meets. They lost 186 to 166 to Miami, 237 to 116 against Arkansas, and then I think next week they have another meet at Queens. So their season is like underway, and I mean, it should be exciting. I mean, it's cool that they have multiple divers that have like been in like national competitions, have won
Right.
national competitions for the U.S. Bailey Sturgill and Katarina Hoffman are a couple of the names that really, really stand out. But there's so many so many transfers, again, so many in both the swimming and the diving teams that are really solid. So I mean, yeah, that's pretty much where where I'm at with that. But I
with the
mean,
non-con,
yeah, with the
non-rev.
non-revenue recap, I guess. For unless you had like any other sports that you wanted to like touch on or anything else.
No, the one I really wanted to touch on was field hockey because, like I said, absolute, must win. Really
Right.
hope, really wish that game was at home. Penn State
I know.
has struggled on the road, but alas, it's in Happy Valley. So, like I said, let's go out there, let's get a win.
Yeah.
But
And they
that,
do have a yeah, they sorry. Yeah, they do have a trend of like you said, beating non-ranked teams, and hopefully this after three tough opponents, like hopefully this one will be a nice opportunity for a bounce back and like a must win because for conference tournament qualification and seeding purposes, got to win it.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean that's pretty much the non-revenue recap.
yeah, and that pretty much does it for everything that we have for you guys here today. As always, a longer episode. We had a lot to cover. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Get to a basketball game this season. Hopefully, the non-revenue sports turn it around. But as always, remember that the bells must ring.